The rules for fibre to the home we know are difficult. The situation is difficult. The business case is difficult. And we've got a fantastic panel who are going to show you how you can still do it even when things are very difficult. So if Jed would like to join me on stage. Now, the interesting thing with this is we've got two operators here who've got extraordinary vision. We've got a provider who has got a global perspective that's going to enable us to get lessons from outside individual countries. So I'm going to introduce these gentlemen. Anders Christensen is the CEO of WOW in Denmark. I was lucky enough to have breakfast with him this morning, and actually I did find myself saying wow at one point when he said something, because Denmark was a commodity market 3 years ago. You could not beat 179 Danish kroner a month. Anders, as well as destroying the competition with fibre to the home, is actually putting the ARPUs up. So when people say you can't do that with fibre to the home, you can. Next to him, very pleased to see an old friend of mine, Jaime Salvat from Andorra Telecom. This is an incumbent that has had the vision to say, we want to do fibre to the home. And we're going to talk to him about the vision very shortly. Jaime gave me the best smile ever when I was talking to him about his business. And I said, how do you get on with the regulator? And he said, oh, pretty good, Richard. I am the regulator. I think most CEOs of operators would quite like that situation. So he has some difficult conversations with himself some days. Great pleasure to welcome Graham Miller here from Jersey Telecom. Now, BT in the UK is showing no vision at all. And I'm personally, coming from these islands, embarrassed about the government and policymaker response to this conference. And I suggest you never come back here because we don't care. Let's go somewhere else where people do. Graham represents Jersey Telecom, which is a small island. Sometimes it's part of the UK when that's helpful, sometimes it isn't. They're not just doing fibre to the home, they're offering every residential and business subscriber 1 gigabit per second if they want it. So we'll talk to him about how actually there's a business case to do that. Next, Valeria Batista from Prismian, the CEO of Prismian Group. So think about the learning that Prismian gets across the world. They're doing particular projects, and the Arab Spring destroys the business that they're doing in the Arab countries, the competition that they're facing. So I think some very interesting global perspectives from a company that understands not just one country, but understands the world. And finally, Murat Erkan, who is the CEO of Super Online. Now, Super Online is in Turkey. Now, you haven't discovered any oil or gas, have you? Not yet. Not yet, okay. So Turkey's not a particularly rich country. I think there's a recession going on. But Murat and his company, with exceptional efficiency, cash flow positive in 2012, are delivering fibre to the home to people and growing really fast. It's very successful. If I was the government of Turkey, I would be so proud of this business because they haven't had to give him $1. He's been able to do this completely himself, and it's an extraordinary result. Even in a country which isn't like Qatar or UAE, even in a situation where the economy, basically, as we know, is not great. So it's a fantastic panel. Graham, are you crazy? 1 gigabit to everybody? You know, where's the business case for that? What on earth's going on?
Well, first of all, I would say our experience is very similar to Jome's. We are seeing, as we roll the fibre out, a much higher uptake of users at higher speeds than we'd predicted in the business case. But what we're trying to do is much more than that. Jersey's very well known for financial services, but perhaps less well known is that over the centuries, the Jersey economy has undergone several transformations from one business to another. It's been involved in everything from cod fishing to privateering in the past. And given what's going on in the world and the world of financial services today, I think no economy would want to be completely dependent on financial services. So really, the whole island is behind setting themselves up as an ICT centre, and clearly we're responsible as the incumbent operator to put the infrastructure in to enable other people as well as ourselves to innovate on top of that. So there is a business case for us. We actually get a return over about a 10-year period, although we're seeing that the actual return is going to be a lot quicker than that. But it's not just... I suppose as the incumbent, what I recognise is that if my country fails, if the economy declines in Jersey, then naturally, where am I going to go as the incumbent operator? So as Jersey Telecom, as JT, we need Jersey to be successful, and really rolling out the fibre is our contribution to the future economic prosperity of the place.
Right. So you're quite a strange CEO then. You're not thinking 2 or 3 years ahead, where's my next job? You're actually thinking 10 years, 20 years ahead, what's the state of my country?
Well, absolutely, and I mean, it's maybe worth going through the thought process that we had when we thought about fibre. I suspect, I mean, in a way, today we're all believers, I suspect, in the room. But I don't think, even if you go outside this room, many people would argue that in 50 years' time, communication services will be delivered any other way than over fibre. And it's not a great intellectual jump then to go, well, is it 50 years, 49 years, 48 years? And that was really the thought process we went through that said, now is the right time to make the transition. And we see all the benefits that my colleagues have already talked about on the panel in terms of improved service for our customers, improved reliability, and so on and so forth. So I think that there is... What we're doing is for future generations, but it does have a good return in it for the current generation. At the end of the day, JT has actually borrowed the money from various sources, including, it has to be said, the Jersey government, to do this, and we wouldn't have been able to persuade the people who've lent us the money to do that if those folks weren't very sure that we could get a return and repay that debt in due course.
Think about the vision there, because Jersey has £150 billion under management. There's 50,000 people on the island, something like that?
100,000 people, there's about, we'll connect up about 45,000 homes and businesses when we're
50,000 homes, I should know. £150 billion under management, and Graham and his team and the state of Jersey are still looking forward. Jaume and his team are still looking forward. Compare and contrast that to your own country. Some very advanced. Anybody here from the UK, we should be very embarrassed. So Graham, I know your ducts were put in the 60s. I assume that ducts to homes, they weren't 300 mil? They weren't particularly large?
No, they, some of them are very small indeed. In fact, some of them are as small as 25 mil.
Ouch.
But what's important for us is they're there.
Right.
But I absolutely, I mean, we use the Prismium products, and they do what it says on the tin, and it is true. You know, it's a fairly gruesome, dirty business, taking a piece of very delicate glass fibre, albeit wrapped up in some plastic coating, and trying to push it, 10 or 15 meters down a 25 mil tube. With lots of twists and turns on the way, and it needs to work at the end of that. One of the biggest lessons we've learned, and it was actually a decision in a way that we had to take, a lot of of the bigger incumbents will, for understandable reasons, multi-source the different elements, look for multiple suppliers. Frankly, we're not of a size that we can do that. And I do believe sometimes necessity is the kind of mother of invention. And so a big lesson for us has been to choose your partners well. We've actually, for all the different network elements and the things we've bought, we've single sourced. And we've sought to have very close relationships with the people that are supplying the key parts of the network to us. And again, because of our size, we don't have huge departments with thousands of engineers and so on, so we really have had to choose reliable partners and then rely on them. So actually, I would say to the audience, if you're thinking about big fibre deployment, our experience at least has been by choosing and working with single source suppliers, we believe that we've had a easier rollout, Things have worked better together because there are fewer kind of competing suppliers and network elements that have to be made to work together. And actually, in terms of sort of the commercial issues and ensuring that one doesn't overpay either on the capital side or the operating and service support costs going forward, we found our suppliers to be very flexible because they also appreciate the benefit of knowing that they're the only person working with us in that particular area.
If you were the regulator of Europe, what would you do?
I would not so much be going for infrastructure competition, but I would be being very strict about having one fibre to everyone, but making sure that there was open access to that fibre. I think that it's very important that the whole of Europe, if I was the regulator for Europe, I want to know that everyone could get access to fibre, not just people in urban areas and densely populated areas. I think to do that, frankly, there's going to have to be cross-subsidy. The urban areas are going to be subsidising the more rural areas, and I think the way to do that, as I say, is rather having 3 or 4 operators all copying and having multiple infrastructure to the same building in a city and then no one in the rural areas. One fibre is enough as long as you regulate the access through that and you have open access. I actually also agree with Anders. I think it is a farce that people can market as an operator a speed that is an up-to speed. You use the example of milk. I've heard the example of cornflakes used. You're not allowed to market a product in any other area that doesn't deliver what it says on the box.
Ladies and gentlemen, really interesting people, really interesting panel. I'd like to thank them for their participation. They've travelled a long way to come here. Please join me in thanking them.